Deepwoken's various bosses, all different people and entities with varying goals that don't align with the player character's ideals. In today's video, I'll be going over the lore encompassing Deepwoken's main bosses and world bosses involving their ideals, alignments, and important information involving their alliances and motivations. Also, I'm live on Twitch. Watch me on Twitch. I'm gonna beat Devil May Cry 5 on Twitch. Watch me on Twitch. It's a Twitch. Follow me on Twitch. Do all this stuff on Twitch. Also, submit your bedrooms and PC setups to the Google form down below. Keep videos a minute and under. And now let's get straight into it. Starting with the Dread Serpent, commonly known as Kaido. This boss surprisingly has quite a lot of lore, despite the fact that barely any of it is directly stated and is mostly found within books. The origins of the Dread Serpent start with one man. This man was a pretty average steward, pirate, taking care of pirate crews and stuff, but he was also in the pursuit of knowledge. Now, this man has no real name that is known and is only known as the Mad Steward. In pursuit of his knowledge, he discovered the Elder Edenkite beings within the northern luminant of Lumen. They were said to be immortal beings with higher levels of intelligence than even the humans of the rest of the world. Eventually, a group of scholars would get to be the first to contact these Elder Edenkites, and people would now commune with these Elder beings for advice involving really anything that they had, as long as it was like a deep question worth going to the Northern Luminant for. People would basically just ask the Edenkites stuff as a way of seeking help for moral or mental problems that they had. Now, the Mad Steward, who was originally a scholar, would eventually go on an expedition to the hostile North Luminant, wishing to question the Edenkites, wondering if they had something to do with the Great Tides and if there was a way to stop it. Upon questioning an Elder Edenkite on how he could stop the drowning of the tides, to which this Edenkite responded that he couldn't, and that this was inevitable for all of this to happen, and that the gift of death was a way of freeing oneself from the mortal body and shackles that life places upon your soul. The Mad Steward was angered by this response, and responded by attacking the Edenkite. A normally immortal being could be hurt if he focused his murmur, that murmur being Ardor. After killing the Edenkite, he then ate the being's heart after killing it in hopes of gaining its knowledge to maybe stop the tides. Now, the Lumen folklore book describes his transformation like this. The devouring of the Drakeheart had not led to infinite wisdom, but an overwhelming sensation of dread. Countless memories of dark history, strife, and tragedy filled the head of the steward. In his very place he began to become a creature most grotesque, and thus the first Dread Serpent was born, corrupted by the will of 1,000 dead eras, a mind drowned with only histories of tragedy. The link that the Dread Serpent has to Ardor, which it grants you on defeat, is seemingly only because the first Dread Serpent, which was the Mad Steward, who was an Ardor user. As for the rest of them, it's unknown why they all have Ardor, despite the fact that only the original Dread Serpent really had it. Now, whenever a new Dread Serpent is born, it's caused by souls which go through massive amounts of negative emotion and dread. The emotions being so powerful that they can mutate a person, turning them into a Dread Serpent. Now, it would be really cool if we got an actual good sea boss fight, and they let you fight like, they could make like the first Dread Serpent as a boss, and it's like a massive one you have to climb like the Divine Dragon from Sekiro or something. Anyway, this boss has some pretty cool lore, so I really hope they make him better or add like a better variant or something. Next is Duke Ishaman of Erysia, a Celtorian man. Yes, Celtor, not Keltor. I don't want to hear you guys trying to correct my pronunciation because you think it's supposed to be said with a K sound. We aren't speaking Latin. Languages have rules, and in English it is Celtor. Anyway, Duke Erysia was a Celtorian man who once resided in the city of Celtor before it was drowned, and he was a noble. His bell allows him to imbue life into things, which he uses to create the rock golems all around Upper Erysia. It could also be that his bell literally just creates the rock golems and doesn't have any secondary use, but I kinda doubt that because most bells are supposed to be applications of wider abilities encompassing more power within the song. But you know, it is possible that his bell is specifically the creation of stone golems, and you know, a lot of people act like that's confirmed, but it is not. But yeah, it probably is, sadly. It was super lame. Now, over time, his golems weren't considered strong enough by him. So he started experimenting on people, so he would start kidnapping and using the people of Erysia, and soon after, Erysia would somehow drift into the Void Sea, being kept in a weird state of time dilation. So after an unknown experienced amount of time, it would drift back into its original spot in the Etrian Luminant. So, for most people it felt like, I don't know, the island was gone for maybe a few minutes or hours, But Duke Aricia was basically in a hyperbolic time chamber because he could have been there for days, weeks, maybe even years. He would soon after steal the Forge of Sin from the Temple of Forgotten Flame, which caught the attention of the Lord Regent, or the fourth prophet of the Ministry, who sends you to go get it for him. The Forge of Sin is what the Duke uses, likely to transfer souls from bodies into Duke's golems. The reason he is doing all of this is because he plans to make his perfect army of stone golems at any and all costs, so he can defeat the Lord Regent and stop another great drowning from happening, like Seltor, which was his home, which he literally saw get destroyed and was in when it got drowned. That's more than likely how he ended up in the depths to get his bell. So he is trying to save the world, but he's using slaves and human experimentation to do it. Next is the Maestro Evangard Rest, who has pretty much the same goals as Duke Aricia minus the immorality. The Maestro instead works in the shadows of Etros, gathering allies who are strong enough and capable to potentially help him rise up against the Lord Regent and fight off the central authority. The boss fight for him is really just a training exercise he uses to test to see if you're worthy of being one of his allies, so he's actually holding back a lot in this fight. Unless you spit on him, then he instantly kills you. Maestro himself is probably going to be a pretty important figure in the future because he's done a lot of stuff to oppose both the Ministry and other negative factions within the game's world, like the Star Kindred Church, who he raided with the Hundreds Legion to get the Pale Briar, as well as stealing the Cerulean Thread from a student of the Fourth Ministry Prophet who he killed. He is a very strong character, as well as having a special ability known as the Tempest Eye. Now, according to old statements from the developers, which may or may not be true at this point, activating this ability will temporarily make him on par in strength and speed and on basically all of his stats to Plitsky, who is currently the second strongest character in the verse we know so far. So that's kind of broken. Next up is the Primadon, which is pretty much just a wild animal for the most part. It is a semi-aquatic fish gorilla kaiju hybrid thing, and it roams in the seas as well as occasionally spending time in the overworld, specifically when summoned using monster drops or other items of significant power, like the Idol of Yun Shul. Other than that, there isn't much lore to this boss, so let's move on. The next boss is the Ferryman. The Ferryman is a Krulian, being a demigod-like being, who likes to toy with people on his free time, allowing them to summon him via a ritual at Boatman's Watch, where he will then offer them unfair deals or challenges in exchange for the potential for riches, and if they lose, then he just kills you. The Ferryman is actually the amalgam made of angry souls who fuse together into a being of higher power, who hate those who live in the overworld, so he takes joy in tormenting people who live in Lumina above. The Ferryman we see in game is a projection of the Ferryman, who is actually down within the depths somewhere, we just don't know exactly where. The Krulian race he belongs to is generally the souls and wills of maybe tens, hundreds, or thousands of souls merging together within the depths, which create a being hundreds or thousands of times more powerful than normal humans. And then we have Chaser, the scholar of the Crimson Contract. The contract in question being the oath deal he made with the second prophet of the Ministry to learn the art of Bloodrend. The Chaser is an ex-Black Diver, but is primarily a Ministry operative in pursuit of harnessing the power of Etheron within Layer 2 to strengthen the Ministry. He joined the Divers to get access to Claris's light hooks, where he was ruled a Black Diver for his level of strength. He then went to Layer 2 and killed his scouting team and established his base in his tower, where he attempts to reach Layer 2 and breach the layer's time dilation, before the player comes and beats him up for being evil and mean. Someone recently tried telling me in the comments that he was weaker than Dr. Carrion, but no, he is not. In terms of raw power, Chaser is the third strongest Black Diver, behind Akira and Claris. His bell allows him to extract power from those he kills, making effigies of dead people. The amount of effigies he's made is represented by the multiple bells on his side, although he can't actually use those bells. They're just a representation of the souls and bodies he steals for power. Next up is the first raid boss meant to be fought with multiple people. Most people just do it solo though. The Scion of Etheron is the living avatar of the drowned god of gale breath, Etheron. It carries out Etheron's will subconsciously, with its main goal being to wake up Etheron as he wants to awaken for some unknown reason. The Scion secretes a strange gas which manipulates the minds of those who breathe it in accession, making them serve Etheron's will to be awakened. Etheron itself isn't inherently evil or trying to kill the world by waking up, or really even attempting to hypnotize the people of New Kirsa. In general, none of the drowned gods are evil. They all exist in a similar way to H.P. Lovecraft's higher beings, where they exist before and outside of time and space. So although chronologically they didn't always all exist, so at one point in what used to be time, there was maybe only Yun Shul, or there was maybe only Yun Shul and Etheron. At the moment of a new god's conception, they have existed since the beginning of time. So imagine this. In the beginning of time, only one god exists. Then maybe 100 years later, another god comes in, but because he's as powerful as the other god, he does come in 100 years later, but as of that conception, he's always existed. It's hard to wrap your mind around, but it's kind of like starting a race from the halfway point, but then going back to the beginning. Etheron just wants to be awakened for some unknown reason, and doesn't particularly care if it means killing the people of the universe, because we don't mean anything to Etheron or the other drowned gods. Now, once you defeat the sign of Etheron, his time dilation effect goes into effect, as the city crumbles down, at which point you need to escape Layer 2 via Claris's light hook, or you die. Next up is the Interluminary Parasol. The Parasol is a barely sentient autonomous organism which looks like a jellyfish, and they act as a sort of cross-pollinator for the various depths monsters to make it in or near the overworld. Now, this thing looks like a jellyfish and likely operates like one, being non-sentient and just doing actions autonomously through a basic nervous system. Regardless, this monster exists in massive amounts within the depths, and they just exist to spread the influence of the depths in their monsters. Fun fact, but this boss came out 2 years after it was leaked. Next up, onto the Doom of Carenthil, aka the World Serpent. This big water snake got its nickname by being the doom of the island known as Carenthil, having destroyed the entire island by itself. There really isn't a lot of lore behind this thing, but it does give you ardor, so it is theorized to be a mutated version or a different version of the Dread Serpents having similar abilities and appearance. Maybe he's even the first Dread Serpent and we don't know it yet, but that's all not confirmed. Then we have the Heart of Enmity. Lots of these newer bosses are pretty underdeveloped lore-wise, but the Heart of Enmity is the ultimate depths trial, only given to people who try and trivialize the depths trial by bringing in large groups of people, which the Voice of Enmity considers cheating. It isn't confirmed, but it is implied the Heart of Enmity is the physical manifestation of the Voice Enmity with its dialogue, which reads, "Despicable, you deem yourselves worthy of a challenge? Allow me to educate you on your folly." With the me in that statement being a bit more of a personal challenge, implying that the Voice of Enmity could take physical manifestation and then turn into the Heart of Enmity. Now, the Enforcer, on the other hand, is the tormented and reformed soul of a person who dies in the depths trials. Strong people who die in the trials are taken by the Voice of Enmity and given new purpose as its enforcers to serve as a trial for those who try to escape the depths if they're strong enough. I hope you all enjoyed. If I didn't cover a boss like the Deep Widow or something, it's because it's an uninteresting mini-boss with no lore. Most of the mini-bosses have no lore, and most of the non-humanoid bosses don't even have very much lore. Shoutouts to YouTube members Pickle, Brick Green, High Card Goobka, and Drizzy Drake Fan. Hope you all have an amazing day. I love you all, and goodbye.